May we call the chaplain to come and take over the proceedings, benediction, so that we proceed now. Obu chaplain. After that, we proceed to the burial site. Horses and buried. Yes, the chaplain. Yes. Is he coming? Okay. I'm told that they have proceeded to the gravesite. Let's proceed. They will meet the president in the gravesite. Vonizuzwan, Nias Kogel. Kogel Kawu, Kogel team. It's the church that is leading now.
Sesiphuma bazalwane siyacela ukuthi izinqola seyimile ngaphandle kunohlelo ezime ngalo sicela ukuthi ngoba usekhona ubaba ngaphandle bese nomndeni nabafundisi no president bayaphuma bese siyalandela ki leadership neimoto zimisiwe kahle ukuthi silandelane ngalelo hlobo ukuze sonke sifike sikahle siyacela ukuthi let's continue sanitize, let's continue put on our mask. And Father Zwane, senginikela kubafundisi siyabonga kakhulu siyabonga bishop siyabonga siyaphuma umndeni cela nisizeni the chief mourner and mongameli nisizeni.
Very wet weather conditions. Very wet weather conditions there, as you can see, that completing the second part of the funeral program under the direction of Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe and Lindiwe Ntshalintshali, both the President and Deputy President of the country in attendance at the funeral service of Minister in the Presidency Jackson Mthembu, a minister in the presidency of the 6th administration at his time of death, but whose contribution to public service spans many years and many positions of responsibility, whether in his community, in his party, and in government as they leave the church. Part 3 of the funeral of Minister in the Presidency Jackson Mthembu is the final resting place, the burial site. They're driving there, they're making their way there. You can see there President Cyril Ramaphosa waiting to get into his transportation, and the Justice Minister Ronald Lamula also making his way there. The final resting place will be the old Pretoria Road Cemetery in Witbank. Only the family, the president and the deputy president are supposedly attending this segment. Our colleague Samkele Maseko is already there. We'll be connecting to him any moment now to tell us what to expect about the third segment of the funeral service of the late Jackson Mthembu. We've just been watching that funeral procession. His daughter there, who said some really beautiful, gave a really beautiful tribute to her father, saying that he made joy and laughter his main aim, also saying that he taught us that hard work and humility are like two peas in a pod. Really enjoyed her tribute to her father.
I need to get in front of the camera.
You can hear the voice of our colleague Natasha Piri in the background there. Anytime now we'll be talking to her in terms of making sense of this particular session of the funeral. But the President Cyril Ramaphosa giving the eulogy there, giving tribute and praise to the late minister. Just a few lines taking from what the President said. He said it's unbearable that we will never see him again. President expressing his shock when he received the news of Minister Mthembu's passing on Thursday from this coronavirus that has caused so much sorrow, said the President. He said during the pandemic, he carried the message of unity and compassion, the very pandemic that has now claimed his life, saying it has been touching to see how the news of his passing stilled the clutter and the bickering, showing we have far more in common than we have chosen to believe. These are the words of the President as he was giving his eulogy, saying we all want what is the best for the people of our country, which he championed so well, saying, as for me, I've lost not only a dependable colleague and comrade, I've also lost a dear friend. Solemn footage coming through there from Emalahleni as the cortège prepares to go through to the old Pretoria Road burial site, which will be the final resting place of Minister Jackson Mthembu. Also continuing to talk about Jackson Mthembu, the President saying that his sense of calm, he will miss his sense of calm. And this was repeated by the attending nurse who attended to the final moments of Mr. Mthembu, saying that he was calm even leading up to his last breath. He was faithful and loyal to both his organization, to his movement, and to the people of our country. The words of the President. The nurse who tended to him, talking about the different milestones as they were attempting to save Mr. Mthembu's life. The benefit of this particular part of the program for me is for the public, giving us a glimpse into the reality of COVID-19 and how it's challenging and really challenging the health professionals at this time. Natasha Piri is standing by to talk to this particular moment. Natasha, a very good morning to you once again. Speak to us about what is happening right now.
Definitely, Desiree. What you're seeing right behind me is just the family getting into their cars, and this will be where the procession actually leads to the cemetery where my colleague Samkele Maseko is currently right now. But I mean, Desiree, you saw yourself, you saw the memorial, you saw the president's eulogy. It was, honestly, it was heartfelt, it was very, very emotional. And I think what touched people the most when Sister Mavis was detailing those days that the minister was in hospital up to Thursday when he took his last breath at around 18 minutes past 1 in the afternoon. I mean, the mood inside the hall was just, it was so sad, it was so emotional. Those who worked with the late Minister Mthembu failing to hold back their tears. The mood was very, very somber. And I mean, I think what struck me the most, Desiree, is that when Mem Mavis had said that Mr. Mthembu, the late minister, was humble up to the point of death, he was also, you know, sharing jokes, saying that when he gets out of hospital, he'll probably have a proper dance and show the Minister of Police, Begicele, how things are actually done. But unfortunately, that day did not come, as right now his family, his friends, the president will then send him off for the last time. And I mean, we heard the president saying there that personally he's lost a close friend, Desiree. So I mean, the whole nation is mourning, not only the Mthembu family, not only his political home, but the nation at large is mourning, as well as you know, leaders of opposition parties. So very, very sad day indeed. I mean, the rain, it started raining again, and I remember, I mean, this is just, it reminds me so vividly of when Umama Winnie Mandela had actually passed on. The same thing had happened when her procession was actually going to, you know, the cemetery. And this is the very same thing that's happening right now. In African culture, it is said that when one, you know, leaves, or when one is sent off and it starts raining like this is a sign of a blessing. So one could say that he was a blessed man indeed. Desiree, as the procession actually leaves, let me just leave my colleagues to actually follow it, and of course we will catch up with you later on. My colleague Samkele Maseko is currently at the cemetery right now, Desiree.
Thank you very much there to our colleague Natasha Piri, giving us a sense of what is happening right now. You've just been watching throughout this morning the second part of the program, the first part, of course, having started at home, and now we're leading up to the third part of the program. The funeral was coordinated by the Director General in the Office of the Presidency, Lusanda Mqenge, of course, as the chair of the Interdepartmental Funeral Planning segment of the Presidency, in partnership with the Mthembu family. In line with the COVID-19 Alert Level 3 requirements, the funeral was attended by 50 people. The funeral was supposed to be a 10-40 split, where 10 attendees came from government and the ANC, and 40 from the family. But we're told the family graciously agreed to a 20-30 split as opposed to a 10-40 split, allowing government and the ANC to increase their number. The 20 outside of the family includes the South African Police Service, the police who are there to enforce the law, the ANC represented at the top level by the President, and the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, and the chairperson of the ANC in the province. The province is represented by the Premier Refugee Mthweni Tsipani. We'll go through all the others in a bit, but right now let's take you to our colleague Samkele Maseko. Samkele, what can you tell us at this moment?
At this moment in time, we're here at the cemetery waiting for the remains of Ubabomvelase, Jackson Mthembu, Ukudeni, Umnisi Wemvula, Libalele, Elanga, to arrive here at the cemetery to his final resting place, where he will be laid amongst the people of Woodbank. In the words of the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, the National Chairperson of the African National Congress, Gwede Mantashe. The ANC is poorer without Jackson Mthembu. The country is poorer without Jackson Mthembu. It's sinking in that Velase is no more. I'm just going to ask my colleague, Sbu, to show you where the remains of Velase, Ukudeni, Umnesi Wemvula Libalele will be laid to rest in his final resting place. He will be laid there. His casket will be placed there. Ukudeni, Umnesi Wemvula Libalele, a true Mthembu will be laid to rest there. In the words of President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, he says, "Farewell, my friend. Farewell, my comrade. Ulale ngoxolo." You heard Sister Mavis speaking of the last moments of the life of Minister Mthembu, saying that on Wednesday he asked for his cell phone to call President Cyril Ramaphosa. He said, quote, "Cyril will be disappointed." Those were the words of the minister. You heard the grief, the sorrow coming from the eulogy delivered by Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, the President of the Republic of South Africa, saying that South Africa has lost a dependable servant of the people. You've heard the likes of various speakers saying that public servants, in the words of Jackson Mthembu, are like doormats where everybody must bring their dirt and wipe their dirt on them. They are the servants of the people. They are not meant to enrich themselves. Till his last breath, there was no corruption scandal against Mthembu. Till his last breath, he was not embroiled in scandals of tender irregularities. He never suffered from the sins of incumbency, but he believed in his convictions. Like a child of the working class, like a working class himself in his days as a senior shop steward at Highveld Steel Corporation, he kept true to the traditions and the origins of the mass democratic movement. As an organizer of the United Democratic Front, who led from the front when liberation movements like the ANC, like the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, the PAC, was banned. He kept true to those convictions. I've just seen a tweet from one of the communicators of another political formation who worked in the communications department of the Congress of the People, who had split from the ANC going after the 2007 Polokwane conference. Jackson Mthembu reached out to the communicators of COPE to come and help him when he was appointed as spokesperson of the African National Congress. Years later, he would further take in young interns who had just graduated from the University of Pretoria, who wanted to become political communicators. Some of them today are media liaison officers in the offices of Gwede Mantashe at Mineral Resources and Energy. Some of them are in the offices of Jeff Makubu, the mayor of Johannesburg. He nurtured and mentored the likes of the Deputy Minister of State Security and Intelligence, who was a communicator par excellence in the political communication space, Zizi Godwa. You did see that letter where he speaks of Velase as a mentor to him. You heard the likes that he's produced, like Keith Khoza, the likes of Kusela Diko. But Velase kept true to his traditions. He never let sins of incumbency get to him. As the cortège makes its way to his final resting place, he has been an exemplary leader of Mpumalanga, of Woodbank, where the Mandashe says to the Deputy President of the ANC and of the country, Titi Mabuza, the ANC is poorer without him. Woodbank, as a community where he lived amongst the people, is poorer without him. Dignitaries are making their way for their arrival. as you have said, the family, just like their fallen father, son, grandfather, has graciously allowed government to have a significant number of its dignitaries here, led by the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa, who's lost a dear friend in Jackson Mthembu. The President says the passing of Jackson Mthembu has united the nation. It has shown that we've got more convergent common interests than what divides the political arena in this country. The bickering of political formations, the bickering of organizations had stopped and paused for a moment to reflect on the passing of Jackson Mthembu. His own party has described him as the best chief whip they've ever had since the dawn of democracy. That speaks volumes of the caliber, ukhuteni, umnisi wemvula libalele, umvelase, Mthembu had on South Africans, on the political sphere. He rose from the ranks of being a metal worker, fighting for the liberation of this country, moved to when the fires were burning in the townships, joined the United Democratic Front, and spearheaded the struggle for political freedom of this country. When the organization he belonged to was facing difficulties, Mvelase was forever available to give comment. No matter how difficult the situation was, he was there. When he faced difficulties within his family, he opened up the doors, he opened up the gates, Kamthembu, Ewitbank, and led South Africans into his affairs. When he lost his daughter, who committed suicide when he was still chief whip, he let South Africans know of the grief that he was feeling. When his son was going through a difficult period, he was there. You saw those visuals of him leaving that hall in tears. You saw the visuals of his longtime friend. You saw the pain in their eyes, saying umngani wakhe, his friend, would be waiting for him in the gates of heaven. You heard his brother Michael saying, once he passes, his brother, makawuthathe lo mshini, agijime now. Loosely translated, you must take the baton, run with it, and lead the family. There were 2 boys left, 2 men left in the family, and 2 other women. Today, Michael is the only man left in the family, and 2 other women. You heard Jackson's daughter, Thuli. You'd remember Jackson Mthembu saying and speaking in Parliament that if Thuli saw anything in red regalia, in red overalls, ubaleke mntanam, run as far as possible. That's Jackson Mthembu for you, joking with the economic freedom fighters. You've seen the response from all and sundry within the political realm in the country. They are sad in the passing of Mvelase. As the rain pours, as the heavens, as the ancestors of the governing party wait to receive the remains of Mthembu, to receive his soul, those who are still part of the land of the living are draped in sorrow as a voice of reason. Not so common in the politics of South Africa today. A person with an astute tongue, a person never afraid to put himself in the firing line, even to his own detriment, in the words of President Cyril Ramaphosa, has departed the land of the living. You heard from Sis Mavis the relationship Mthembu had with his family. My colleague Natasha Piri will take it from here to speak on the various issues raised by the speakers in the hall. Over to you, Natasha.